These are 15 things you didn't know about Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, he's like the 2K creative player.
Las Vegas home. Wembanyama for three. Wee-wee.
NBA players love hyping him up and talking about how unique he is. It's rare for a player who hasn't stepped foot on an NBA court to get this much hype.
What do I think of him? I think probably the same as everybody else think. Everybody, we're labeling like this unicorn thing. Everybody's been a unicorn over the last few years, but he's more like an alien. No one has ever seen anyone. As tall as he is, but as fluid and as graceful he is out on the floor.
First of all, I'm really glad he said that because I didn't like to be called a unicorn. And yeah, I like it because it's just something not from this world. I like being called an alien, It's really what I'm working to be, something unique and original.
Considering LeBron was in a similar hype situation out of high school, he can sympathize with Victor, so his words mean a lot. And another superstar had to get their word in as well.
The evolution of the game is taking us this far. You know what I'm saying? When we got 7'5" dudes who's able to do everything on the court, So he's inspiring to a lot of people out here. I heard a comment, he said, somebody compared him to a few players in the league, and he was like, I think I'll do myself a disservice if I compare myself to one or two players. He wanted to take from everybody. And I thought that was such a profound statement and made me a big fan of his. So the league's really in trouble when he comes in. And I want to see how it plays out. And
high praise from the best players in the league right now. I bet you've heard his proportions praised, but did you know how insane they are? Wembanyama's wingspan allows him to reach up to 8 feet and allows him to look like he's playing on a kid's hoop when he dunks. He hardly has to jump at all. His shoe size is 20.5, so he's got feet bigger than my head. At 13 years old, Victor was 6'6". Imagine rolling up to a junior high school game and you see Slender Man running up and down the court. And because of his length, seeing him be able to hit down threes and smash down balls makes him a nightmare matchup for anyone in the NBA. An editor called Will Leach said that he is a center who plays like a point guard. He's a mix of sort of Magic Johnson, Steph Curry, and Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, with all that kind of comes with that. Anybody with draft comparisons to players from the top 10 of all time has lofty expectations, but not as high as Victor's expectations for himself, because when he got word that he may be recruited from America, he got to work. Wemby began learning English in middle school to prepare himself for the NBA, but he wasn't sitting there in a classroom getting lectured by a professor on prepositions. He did it his way. Wembanyama taught himself how to speak and read English, and he did it the fun way. He made a separate English Instagram account so that he could learn while scrolling his phone. He also watched multiple Netflix shows in English to learn. Victor even read the whole Aragon series in English. What a feat. Now, people are astounded by his fluency. We as NBA fans are used to European players being a bit spotty in interviews. In this interview during the G League games, Victor has some insightful comments about his game.
When I talk to NBA scouts and executives, the thing that they say stands out about you the most is for a guy your size, at your age, you're so coordinated and you're so fluid and your stroke looks so smooth. How did you develop that when you were growing up?
So for the form, the shooting form is only work. And that's one thing I'm really proud of. The shooting form I obtained, it was after hours and hours of work, really, and I really thought about it for years. But for the coordination, I'd say it's because I was, most bigs, especially my age, they grew up so fast, they had a huge growth spurt, getting multiple inches a year. But I didn't have this. I was really tall from this jump. That's it. Even as a young kid, I was really, really tall. So I guess my body has had time to adjust to himself. I think that's the thing.
I mean, he really already sounds like an NBA veteran in the way that he's speaking. I think we can partly attribute that to his skills outside of the court. Although he's quite the phenom on the court, I bet you didn't know that Wemby is a scholar off the court. He was a whole year ahead of all the other kids his age at school in France. He specialized in earth and life sciences as well as social and economic sciences. He earned his baccalaureate with honors, the equivalent of a high school degree. A testament to his smarts was a story that one of his basketball coaches told in an interview. Michael Burr, Wemby's coach, asked the team to think of a meaningful word that started with the same letter as their first name. On the spot, Wemby responded, "My name starts with the letter V. V in Roman numerals means 5. My name is Victor because I can play all 5 positions." Burr said that he felt this response was extraordinary for a 16-year-old, and I agree. Another thing you probably didn't know about Wemby is that he loves all kinds of creative outlets. He loves to read, write, and build Legos. He also loves looking at and getting inspired by art. Wembanyama said in an interview with ESPN that, "I feel like I'm an artist on and off the court. I love thinking about a lot of things and working to get an art piece done. I love drawing. I love building Legos. I love it. I love writing." Every night before bed, Wemby keeps a strict routine. He turns out the lights except for a lamp, turns off his phone, and cracks open a book to escape into fantasy world. Wemby's favorite books are science fiction and fantasy novels. He likes to not think about anything I just did during the day, and to disconnect from the world. I get absorbed with the book and fly in another dimension. He has read the entire Game of Thrones series, which is 5,765 pages in length. He's no casual reader. He says that the Game of Thrones series may be the best thing he's ever read. He loved the series as well, until the end. Like the rest of us. One of us. One of us! He's really shattering the notion that basketball players can't be nerds. He's just like me, a big nerd. When he was younger, he did the usual kid stuff as well. Wemby grew up playing soccer and used his long limbs as a goalkeeper. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't know if I'm making the ball in the goal with his 8-foot wingspan. He also learned judo, which is a Japanese martial art. If Victor was trained to fight while also being 7'4", I would be scared shitless. None of the sports panned out, and he discovered his love for basketball, but he's still a fan of soccer and says that his favorite player is French legend Kylian Mbappe. They even got to meet at one of his games, and Mbappe imparted some superstar wisdom onto him. Maybe he doesn't need superstar wisdom from Mbappe, because I bet you didn't know that Wemby's parents were both athletes. His dad, Felix, was a track and field athlete. He competed in the high jump and the long jump. His dad didn't coach him in basketball, but he did make sure that his jumping and running technique was perfected. His mom is the one who introduced him to basketball because she was a pro player and coach in France. His mom is 6'3" and his dad is 6'6", so you can see where he got his crazy height from. Still, you would expect his dad to be a 7-footer at least. His sister also has a basketball career. She helped France win the Women's European Basketball Championship. What a family! Almost on par with my family of world-class athletes. Wait, I think I disassociated there for a moment. Wemby has to stay associated because he can have no role models. No role models to speak of. That's Victor's motto, but not for the same reason as J. Cole. Wemby knows he's an alien, and like an alien arriving to Earth, he can't relate his experiences to the muggles of Earth. Victor says that when you're 6'2" versus 7'3", it's not the same sport. So, the way I want to play, I gotta innovate and just create new things. I see his point. He's acting like 6'2" is short though, which is hurting my feelings. Wemby didn't care about hurting feelings to improve his game. I bet you didn't know that Wembanyama rejected one of the biggest European clubs. He was playing as a guest in a European tournament called the Mini Cup in 2018. He was playing for the Barcelona team, who is owned by the prestigious club FC Barcelona. Now, many prospects would be frothing at the mouth for an opportunity to get paid a good salary and with support from an established sports club, but Wemby thought differently. As he was playing as a guest, he noticed something. His coaches were all yes men. None of his mistakes were called out. He said that the coaches wouldn't dare to question his on-the-court decisions, and ultimately, when they offered him a lucrative deal to come play with them, he decided against it in favor of a lesser-known French team. Wemby, when asked about it, said, "I like to progress, and I need to challenge myself. So yes, I like to be told things clearly, even if it can be unpleasant to hear." Seems like it was the correct decision, since he's now on his way to playing the biggest league in the world. It wasn't quite the big leagues, but Wemby debuted in America during the G League, which is basically minor league summer basketball. And he showed out. Wemby scored 37 points along with 5 blocks and showed NBA players sitting courtside that he was the real deal. They played 2 games, and Victor continued to impress. He scored 36 points and had 11 rebounds. Not only did he show that he could score and defend, but that he could do it consistently. There were doubts that with the little competition in the French league, that Victor would not be prepared to play in the US, but the haters were silenced after his performances. Now, the media says that Wemby is the most hyped up NBA prospect since LeBron James. If he doesn't become one of the best of all time, he will not have reached his expectations. That is a lot of pressure on the young man. His French league stats tell a great story. He averages 21.6 points, 10.5 rebounds, and 3.1 blocks a game. A very impressive stat line, especially considering that the French games are shorter. He leads the whole French league in every stat line. He also broke the record for most average blocks in the under 19-year-old World Cup. A Forbes article said that his stats showed that he was scoring like Paul George, rebounding better than Yusuf Nurkic, blocking more shots than everyone not named Jaren Jackson Jr., and was more efficient than Zion Williamson. As long as Wemby isn't injured, he has one of the highest probabilities of all time to be drafted #1 overall, so whoever won the lottery this year had him locked down. Richard Jefferson even said that LeBron would have gone second in the draft if Wembanyama was in his class. Teams have been praying to get him, but the team that did end up getting him can't keep getting away with this. The Spurs landed the top lottery draft spot, and it's fitting considering they also house one of the former greatest French players of all time in Tony Parker, in addition to another great European player, Manu Ginobili. Spurs fans were over the moon when they heard the news. The top 3 teams had a 14% chance of getting the lottery pick, the Spurs being one of them. But what makes this so crazy is that when there was another generational talent on the line that all the teams were salivating over, the Spurs won as well. That talent was Tim Duncan, who ended up winning 5 championships, 3 finals MVPs, and mountains of other accolades. And before that, they got David Robinson #1 overall, who also ended up being one of the greatest players of all time. Suffice to say, the league is tired of the Spurs winning monumental lottery picks. But Wemby is happy. He knows the potential. Despite the lottery outcome, Wemby has had some words to say about the strategy that many teams use to try to get him. That strategy is tanking. Tanking is when a team intentionally loses in order to get a better draft pick. In the NBA, it's not a great strategy because you're not guaranteed a top pick even if you have the worst record. Wemby says that tanking is a weird strategy and that I find it unreasonable, and I try not to think about it. I also heard that the NBA considered changing a few rules for me, but that doesn't concern me. The NBA did alter the lottery rules, but that was before Wemby was a factor. The odds of getting the first draft pick were reduced for the worst team from 25% to 14%. And tanking ultimately didn't work for those teams that did it. The Spurs weren't the worst team, although in the top 3. Wemby isn't only insightful about basketball topics, though. His coach recalled an interaction they had. While traveling, Wemby's coach Bubekri would quiz him with strange questions to keep his mind nimble. It was rare that Victor ever got a question wrong, but one day he pulled a trivia card that he thought for sure would stump him. The question was, what bird can fly backwards? And Victor had the answer almost immediately: a hummingbird. Wemby said they were flabbergasted. They thought I was joking, like I had just guessed a random bird. According to fellow French NBA player Rudy Gobert, his capacity to store information is impressive, and he's thirsty for knowledge, a good skill to have in a basketball player. Athletes are usually characterized as simpletons, but it takes a lot of intelligence to learn from film and to apply that in the heat of the moment. His height is an asset for adjustments, because he's able to make more mistakes while still making a play. Did you know that at his height, he would be equal to the current tallest NBA player Boban Marjanovic at 7'4"? And reports say that he might even have a growth spurt that gives him another inch or 2 to make him the tallest player in the NBA. While unlikely, it could still happen. What's not so unlikely is that if Drake is sitting courtside, he's going to talk trash. So much so that the NBA commissioner threatened to ban him. Click here if you want to see more moments of Drake disrespecting NBA players.